and welcome back to my channel. My name is Wangashi. Kama hunipendi, exit please. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. So I'm starting this series which is called A Journey to Wholeness or Healing. Well, to be whole you need to be healed, right? A journey to wholeness, and it's a lifelong playlist of just me going through this journey. I have experienced a pivot moment in my life, which was the death of my father. Is it a pivot? Is that the right word? I don't know. I'm all over the place. I have experienced the loss of my father, which is the closest loss I've ever experienced. And I thought I'd share that story and also share me processing grief and just seeking wholeness in the midst of death and loss. So in this episode, I might have to create 2 episodes. I've tried to record this video. I was all over the place. So I decided, let me record again and gather my thoughts. So, I'm losing my train of thought. Oh yeah, I'm not going to say I'm very fortunate to not have lost close people, but I'm blessed enough to not have had so many deaths. You know, there are people who and I'm sorry if you're one of them, I'm sorry, who lose a lot of close people. It's so difficult. So in my life, I've lost my grandfather, who we weren't that close by virtue of he lived 8 hours away. He was a very strict man, and I was very young. So even when we would go visit, I'd just be playing outside during the day and sleeping at night, barely even interacting with him. Actually, the memory I have of him was when he got sick and he came to get treatment, and he stayed with us for a while, and I was massaging his feet. And I'm not sure if that's an accurate memory. I did a lot of massaging for my family when I was young. I enjoyed it. I've always liked things to do with relaxing and beauty, and so I was massaging his feet. Because he wasn't doing that much of movement. He had a stroke. Yeah. And then my grandmother, who passed the same year. And for her, I was in boarding school. I wasn't nearby, but we were close. She's the one I'm named after. She's the OG Wangashi. OG. And I wasn't even able to go to the funeral, but I believe it was because my mom was really protecting me. I was too young to even understand the concept of death. In my grandfather's funeral, I was crying because I'm seeing other people cry. Actually, we were in the room, all cousins, the young ones, we were put in a room, in one of my auntie's room in our shags. And I just tell my cousins, wewe wengine wanalia, mbona wanalia? I think tunafai kulia. And so we start crying. No, I see why people have called me an instigator. So we start crying. But we weren't crying because okay, I wasn't crying because I understood, death, I'm never gonna see him until tarumbeta zilia, and then the death rise up, and then the living, yeah. So my father, let me give you a background story. My father wasn't really in my life. In my formative, do I call them formative years? The years where I knew myself. Is formative the right word? Yeah, formative years. Teacher of English, disturb us. So this years where I knew myself well enough. He wasn't there, and we weren't in communication that much. So we reconnected after I finished high school. I remember we met and we talked, and I cried, and he apologized, and he told me he'd do better and all that. And then fast forward, we are still in communication here and there. He had his weaknesses, I was learning them. He had his strengths, I was being exposed to them, which was so beautiful. 2018, he gets is it 2018? He gets diagnosed with cancer. Doesn't tell me it's cancer. Doesn't tell. I don't know if he told my siblings, but he didn't tell me. So 2019 is when I'm like, okay, this is serious, but I'm not worried, because if you know me, you know that I've been very persistent in seeking after God. I'm not the best of Christians, and I said it in my first video, but I've been very persistent in seeking after God. So in 2019, I drew nearer to Him because I needed a lot of healing. I was in a bad place mentally, I was in a bad place emotionally, and in drawing nearer to Him, God was increasing His Spirit within me. So I wasn't really worried, because I'd pray and be like, oh, God is going to handle it, God is going to handle it. 2019 ends, 2020 comes, lockdown happens, my father happens to be in the country. He flew in for some, I don't know, because he used to live in China. So he comes, we start going to hospital here, because now lockdown, and also, I don't know, lockdown, let's say lockdown. So he comes, I'm still not worried. Last year, you guys, 2020, I fasted and prayed. What? I want the fire I had in 2020. What? I even lost weight because of all the fasting. I used to fast 10 days. What? Now I can't even go a day. Something is wrong. I need to get it together. But so in 2020 is when I even received the gift of tongues, the gift of discernment, and I can see, to some extent, I can see things in the spirit. So even when I'm praying, when I'd pray for my father, I'd never be worried. So he goes for his surgery. I remember that day, I'm the one I was his next of kin, because I'm the youngest, and I was in school. I wasn't that busy. My siblings are working, so my mom is working, my sister's mom is working, they're busy. So I can go and take him to the hospital, Nini, in case the doctor needs anything, I can bring it. So my friend Jane, hi Jane, love you so much. Love you so much. My friend Jane takes me to wait on him as he goes for his surgery. My auntie was there, my dad's girlfriend, all of us, we were there. But I'm the one who stayed in the hospital, because just in case the doctor is in the surgery room and is like, wait a minute, we're seeing something here, bring the x-rays. They'd call me and I'd take them. Actually, they did that day. I remember them calling me asking for the x-rays. So the surgery was 8 hours. How long was that? It was long, because he went in at 2, 3, 4, I don't remember, and then he came out at 9. Anyway, so we go for the surgery. I wasn't that worried. I was anxious because I'd never experienced anyone going to surgery, and and I've always been I'm afraid of anesthesia. That one. So he goes into surgery. Jane just sits with me in the hospital throughout. My friend Kwesi comes and picks us up after his surgery. I didn't even see him, so I'm just told, hey, his surgery is done, he's been taken to his ward. He was in high intensity unit. Am I right? I don't know. If you're a doctor, you'll tell us, but it was H something, high intensity unit, I think. And then we go, and then when we go, they say, oh, you can't see him, one of you has to see him. So it was either me or his girlfriend at the time. So I'm like, okay. I tell her, you can go in, because she was going to sleep over at the hospital. You can go in, I'll come back to see him. Tell him I have gone home and I'm fine, Evo. So I go home. I didn't see him, but I wasn't worried throughout this time. Throughout 2020 goes on, he's getting better. We were talking, he's updating me, getting better. Sometimes it lapse and then get back. Lapse, get back. But he was even adding weight. So 2021 comes. January, I'm all fine, not worried. February, which is the last time I talked to him, he tells me he's fine and he's eating fruits and he's excited and all that. Tells me he's fine. But towards the end of February, remember, I have discernment, I can see the Spirit. I was praying and the Holy Spirit asks me, What if you're the one keeping him in pain? And I understood that question being, what if it's you as his family keeping him in pain? But because I can't like now call my sister, hi, see, we like let him go. I can't do that. I tell God, God, am I keeping him in pain? If I am the reason for his pain, help me release him. And for 2 weeks, every time I'd pray, because I used to pray morning and evening, I tried to pray as much as possible. So for 2 weeks, I kept asking God that question. And I'd tell God, help me release him. So on the day my dad died, I was at work. And I remember, no, the day before, so the 9th of March, I was at work. And I remember I was praying and I was like, God, my auntie texted me and told me he was in the ICU in Othaya. So I was like, oh wow, I didn't know this. I thought he was getting better. Remember the prayers I've been praying for 2 weeks. So I start praying, and that's the first time since 2019 where I break down with hopelessness, in that I am very aware this is it. The first time since I found out my dad had cancer, since I started taking him to hospital, where I actually think it is finished. Actually, that's what I thought. It is finished. So I start praying, and there was also something else going on in our lives that we were praying about. And I start praying, and with regards to that other thing, God shows me pure white clouds. And I'm like, okay, so everything will be set clean. In that one, that is what I see. And then when I start praying, after my auntie texted me, when I start praying for my father, I saw him walk out of a hospital wearing red slippers. And he was healthy. And so I'm like, okay, so maybe he will heal. But in my heart, my spirit knows, no, he won't. So I text my friend Rose and I tell her, please help me pray. Hi Rose, love you so much. I text her and I tell her, please help me pray. I don't think he'll make it. We met with my brother that day and my mom. I didn't tell my mom because it was a good day for her. So I wasn't like, oh, this is what is happening. I tell my brother and I tell him, hey, did you hear that dad is in the ICU? My brother says, yeah, I've known since Friday. And I'm like, oh wow, so I'm the last one to know. It's okay. I tell him, I'm so worried. I don't think he'll make it. This is, even my brother told me the other day, that was the first time I said I was concerned since we found out he was sick. And this was the Holy Spirit just sharing with me. So when I get to my house, my brother drops me off at my place here. And then that night, it was so late, we got home so late, around 8:30. I had to go to work the next day. So that night I remember praying and I told God, I want you to give my father peace in the capacity you know is the right way. If it is healing on this earth, give him that peace. If it is death, if you're calling him to heal him in heaven, give him that peace. I wake up the next morning. 5:24, I walk out of the shower. It's actually late. I usually used to leave the house at 5:30 so that I'm at work by 7. I think 7. I was supposed to be at work by 6:45, but where traffic? So I used to leave the house at 5:30. So I walk out and my phone is ringing and it's my cousin. This is the same cousin who called me when my stepbrother died. So, remember the prayer I've been praying for 2 weeks, and the prayer I prayed the last night. So I take the phone, I answer, she asks me, umeka chini? I tell her, eh. So I sit down on my couch. She tells me, Ngesh, Uncle Mwangi. She starts crying and I tell her, I know. And I start crying. And I tell her, it is well. And we finish our call. I tell her, please allow me to be the one to tell my mother and my brother. Because if they'd find out without knowing I know, they'd be worried about me. That was my logic. So I tell them that. And she's like, okay. I stand in the middle of my living room and I tell God, thank you. And those were not my words, because afterwards I got angry. Oh, it's so interesting. God really tolerates a lot for us. Afterwards, after the funeral, I got angry. I was like, you took my father, all this. But that morning, I remember it was just the Holy Spirit giving me that strength, and I told God, thank you. Thank you for giving him peace. And I cried, and my sister called me, and I was like, let me come. She was staying on Naivasha Road. So I got out. My logic my logic was, I don't have airtime. So because I was still going to town for work, I could always call work and be like, hey, I can't come. But what I decided to do was go to town, because it's 5:30, no shops are open. By the time I get to town, shops will be opened. Why? A confused mind is a weird one. Shops will be open. So what will happen? I'll buy airtime and call my brother. And yeah, tell him and my mom. So I text my friend. Irene, such a support system. I text my friend Rose. I text my friend Jane. I tell them, thank you for praying for my family. My dad rested. And this video is long. Do we do a part 2? We're gonna do a part 2.